During his visit to Washington, President Fattah al-Sisi met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. President al-Sisi stressed the importance to reach a binding legal agreement on filling and operating the Renaissance Dam. President al-Sisi also took part in a dinner banquet hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden at the White House to honor African leaders participating at the U.S.-Africa Summit. More details in the following report.
President Fattah al-Sisi resumed his participation in the U.S.-African Leaders Summit taking place in the United States on Wednesday. The head of state busy schedule started by attending a business breakfast with some U.S. Republican congressmen in Washington. The meeting with Republican congressmen from the U.S. states of Kentucky, Texas, Ohio, and South Carolina. During the meeting, President al-Sisi hailed strategic and strong ties that bind Egypt and the U.S. and said Cairo is keen to communicate with decision-makers circles in Washington within the framework of mutual consultations and coordination regarding various issues. The President expressed Egypt's appreciation for the role played by the U.S. Congress in enhancing partnership between the two nations, adding that Egypt is looking forward to expanding such partnership in different channels of joint cooperation that aims at achieving mutual interests. For their part, the U.S. congressman reiterated that Egypt is a key ally to the U.S. in the Middle East region and hailed its pivotal role as a cornerstone for peace and stability in the Middle East, the Mediterranean, and Africa. They further praised Egypt's efforts in confronting terrorism and extremism, as well as boosting religious forgiveness concepts, plus the country's balanced positions to reach peaceful settlements concerning various crises in the region. The President also held a meeting with members of Egypt's Friends Group at the U.S. Congress from both the Republican and Democratic parties. Moreover, President Fattah al-Sisi met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. President al-Sisi also took part in a dinner banquet hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden at the White House to honor African leaders participating in the U.S.-Africa Summit. The President also held talks with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in the Pentagon. On the sidelines of the summit, President al-Sisi attends the concluding session of the U.S.-Africa Business Forum. The President said he is looking forward to promoting ties in all aspects of bilateral cooperation based on mutual respect and common interests. The head of state stressed his keen interest in communicating with decision-making bodies in the United States regarding different issues of mutual concern. The U.S. lawmakers, meanwhile, hailed Egypt's pivotal role in the region, being a key ally to the United States.
The U.S.-Africa Summit hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden continues its activities in Washington on Thursday. Thursday's sessions are entitled An Africa of Good Governance, Democracy, Respect for Human Rights, Justice and a Rule of Law. On Wednesday, the U.S.-Africa Business Forum discussed the future of U.S.-Africa trade and investment relations, as well as partnership to finance African infrastructure and energy transition. U.S. President Joe Biden called on Wednesday for a broad partnership with Africa and highlighted new U.S. investment, saying closer ties were crucial for the world. Biden also outlined some of the $55 billion in U.S. funding planned for Africa over the next 3 months, including $100 million for clean energy. The Administrative Control Authority organizes on Thursday a celebration to launch the third phase of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy 2023-2030 under the auspices of President Fattah al-Sisi. The launch is held in presence of international organizations concerned with combating corruption. The event coincides with the world celebration of the International Anti-Corruption Day and comes within the framework of Administrative Control Authority's continuation of its efforts as a representative of Egypt in the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. The launch also supports the authority's vision to reach a society that understands and rejects the dangers of corruption and upholds the values of transparency and integrity, by identifying and evaluating corruption risks and works on prevention. On the sidelines of celebrating the launch of the third phase of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy 2023-2030, 2 corruption agreements are signed between the authority and the Ministries of Youth and Sports, Higher Education and Scientific Research to support coordination between all parties. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli appointed Mr. Hussein Ahmed Hiba as Executive Director for the General Authority for Investment in Free Zones, following Councillor Mohammed Abdel Wahab. Prime Minister Madbouli thanked Councillor Abdel Wahab for the efforts he exerted, which contributed to creating and attracting investment climate on both local and international levels amid unprecedented global challenges. Sharing a weekly cabinet, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli stressed the necessity of finding subsequent plans for addressing the repercussions of the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. Prime Minister added that the government is taking quick steps to face soaring prices and issued clear instructions to monetary bodies to set a definite period for announcing the new price list of commodities and punishing violators or manipulators. He also urged the importance of developing a plan for localizing the industry of poultry fodder. The cabinet, meanwhile, approved a number of significant decisions, atop of which is a presidential pardon for some prisoners, marking the Police Day and 25th January Revolution anniversary.